sorry to be a few minutes late, and I feel badly we are. So I don't take that lightly, and it's not Kevin's fault. It's not his family's fault. It's my fault. Welcome to the new offices of the EDA. I almost don't want to touch anything. It's so clean here. Let me start with a sober note. I've spoken to each of the mayors, and I, God willing, will get a chance to speak to the family. But I spoke to Brad Cohen from East Brunswick last night and Dan Ryman from Carteret a few minutes ago. And we had an awful tragedy where two young teenagers lost their life last night. If you didn't see this, they were on ice that was not obviously thick enough. They fell through. There were extraordinarily heroic efforts by first responders. A number of policemen were injured either there or getting there. They did everything they could, but two 14-year-old lads have passed. So please keep them in your prayers. And please, God, if anybody's watching this, don't go near any ice. It just isn't. You never know whether it's thick enough, but the weather is, it just hasn't been cold enough for long enough to have any thick ice. And these poor lads thought they could get away, and it wasn't to be. Please, most importantly, keep them all, their memories and their families in your prayers. So on a much happier note, it is good afternoon, and again, I apologize for being late. It is my distinct honor this afternoon to announce my intention to nominate this guy, Kevin Walsh of Merchantville, to serve as the 4th New Jersey State Comptroller. I'm so emotional about this, I can't get the word out. Before I get to Kevin, I want to acknowledge former Comptroller Phil Degnan, who served in our cabinet, who I was pleased to see, more than pleased to see, confirmed by the Senate as a Superior Court judge last month. And now Judge Degnan led the office with great pride and dignity and continued the office's young yet stellar reputation for thorough, nonpartisan, and independent investigation. And I thank Phil for his more than 4 years of service to the Comptroller's office, and I wish him nothing but the very best as he takes his seat on the bench. I also want to thank Chief of Staff Andy Cliver for stepping up and filling in since Phil's confirmation. But of course, that means that we have a seat to fill in the Comptroller's office. And I am extremely proud that Kevin has accepted my offer to serve in this important role. Kevin Walsh is already known to many across our state. During the past 2 decades, he has worked as a civil rights attorney and as executive director of Fair Share Housing Center, fighting to ensure that every New Jersey community lives up to its obligation to provide affordable housing options for their residents. He's also served as counsel to New Jerseyans for Alternatives to the Death Penalty and was part of the team which successfully abolished capital punishment in our state more than a decade ago. Kevin was selected by the New Jersey Supreme Court to sit on its Committee on Character and to review applicants to the state bar. Former Chief Justice Jim Zizali is with us. Jim, it's an honor to have you with us. He also sat as a member of the state Supreme Court's Practice Committee, which reviews and recommends potential changes to New Jersey's rules of court. That Kevin was selected to serve on both of those bodies speaks to the respect he has garnered from the members of the legal profession, and it speaks to his own character. It also speaks to a deep knowledge of the legal process that was instilled by former Justice Gary Stein, for whom Kevin clerked. Kevin was selected by the New Jersey Law Journal as its 2012 New Jersey Lawyer of the Year. And that same year, he received the Mary Philbrook Public Interest Award from the Rutgers School of Law, Camden, his alma mater. Kevin is also a graduate of Catholic University and has volunteered with Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Camden and with Build Jake's Place, which helps construct inclusive playgrounds accessible to children and adults of all abilities, just as it does for me and my family, as it does for most of us. For Kevin, in life, it takes a village, or more explicitly, a family. In his case, a big one, led by his mom, Margaret. Where's Margaret? Lester, here you're all the way in from County Mayo for this occasion, with her husband, led by his mom, Margaret, his wife, Rosemary, and their 4 rockin' sons who we were just hanging around with down the hall. We have a bevy of Walshes with us today, so let there be no doubt. Anybody Irish out here? I just want to check. Just checking. Just checking. Excuse me. Frank, don't be offended. I apologize. The Friars and the Zazzalis cannot be offended when I ask if there are any Irish in this. Jim is married to one, so we know that. Now, I know that not all the fights Kevin has taken on throughout his career have been politically popular, but they were the right fights. And that's exactly why he will make a strong comptroller. This job, unlike any other in Trenton, relies upon independence of thought and independence of action. It requires someone willing to simply let the evidence guide them, rather than the other way around. It requires someone who knows how government at all levels works, or in some cases, doesn't. It requires a thick skin to take on a fight for the right reason and to stand solely for the people of New Jersey, regardless of which way the political winds may try to push you. In these aspects, Kevin Walsh has a proven record of excellence. As comptroller, I will ask Kevin to continue the office's reputation for reviewing the actions of state government agencies and local government bodies to ensure that our taxpayers are not taken advantage of and that public funds are spent effectively and efficiently. That reputation includes, for instance, going after Medicaid fraud that drives up the cost of health care for the rest of us. And I know that Kevin will stand firm against any efforts by anybody to game the system for their own personal gain. For the past 2 years, this administration has taken great pride in not being the Houston Astros. We're taking our cuts honestly, and we will continue to do so. And with Kevin in the comptroller's office, the people of New Jersey will have someone they can trust to call out the cheats. Before Kevin comes up, again, I want to thank the distinguished folks who are here with us today. Most importantly, Kevin's family, our brothers and sisters from organized labor, community activists, faith leaders, all folks who are in this fight for the right reason. It is now my pleasure to introduce the next New Jersey State Comptroller, Kevin Walsh.
Thank you, Governor Murphy. It is a great honor to have your trust, your confidence for this important position. I thank you for selecting me to serve as State Comptroller. I pledge to you and I pledge to the state that I will serve in this role with integrity. I will serve in this role with impartiality, with independence, and with an eager and enthusiastic commitment to making New Jersey's agencies, counties, and municipalities more efficient, more effective, and more accountable. I am excited, as you said, to be joined here today by my wife, Rosemary, and our 4 boys, my mother, stepfather, brother, and sister, and friends, including friends I've made throughout the civil rights and housing and death penalty work I've done over the last 20 years. I still feel very young, but it has been 20 years. Many of the people who are here have given me opportunities and supported me as a young lawyer, most especially Peter O'Connor, who's the founder of Fair Share Housing Center. And it's hard to move on. It's hard to move on, but it feels like it's a good next step. I grew up in Pennsauken, next to Camden. I learned early on about divisions in our society. And I think who I am and what I've been doing for the past 20 years in working for racial and economic integration in our state has been guided where I grew up and how people on one side of Route 130, where I live, had lots of opportunities, and people on the other side were overwhelmingly denied those opportunities. I became a public interest lawyer after volunteering for a year as an advocate for people who were homeless in Richmond, Virginia. My experiences there with the city government opened my eyes to the reality that government has immense powers that can often be abused. When I returned to New Jersey, I started to learn about how some New Jersey municipalities use their zoning powers to exclude lower-income people and people of color, and especially families of color. I also worked to end the wasteful and counterproductive death penalty in the state, something I'm very proud of. My wife Rosemary and I became My wife Rosemary and I became advocates for inclusive playgrounds for people of all abilities, working with a great organization, Build Jake's Place. By expecting government to find ways to be more inclusive of all people, we helped change the law. Now every county in New Jersey has to have playgrounds that are as accessible as possible. I learned that it is possible to make positive change through litigation, through the Open Public Records Act, and by being a voice in public for those whose voices are too often drowned out. I'm excited to bring those experiences and my ability to hold government accountable to my work as State Comptroller. I will have a different set of tools to use, but my determination and my interest in delving deep will be the same. I have a record of holding government accountable. I look forward to continue doing so. One of the reasons I'm excited to join with Governor Murphy and appreciate his nomination of me is because he's a very clear and constant commitment to making our state a better place. This administration and our legislature have recently led the nation in humane and progressive reforms that improve democracy, ensure children have food to eat, and permit people to earn just wages. These are issues that define who we are as a state. They show what we believe in. I am proud to have that opportunity to serve a state that is led by a legislature that can reach consensus and by a governor who has a vision on these issues. The comptroller's role is to make sure the law is followed when the government spends taxpayers' money. The office evaluates whether the government is complying with procurement laws on the front end. On the back end, the law directs us to audit whether funds were spent responsibly and for the purposes they were intended, and to look over the shoulders of doctors we entrust with our Medicaid funds. New Jerseyans expect government to be efficient, effective, and accountable when it spends our money, and I look forward to being their eyes and ears to ensure that happens. One of the most important features of the comptroller's position is its independence. My job will be to demand answers and speak truthfully about waste, fraud, corruption, and inefficiency. The comptroller statute ensures that I can lead the agency with independence, with impartiality, and with a focus on where the facts lead me. When I meet with senators as part of the confirmation process, which I am looking forward to, I will pledge to them that I will call balls and strikes. I will build on the records of independence shown by Matt Boxer, by Mark Larkins, and by Judge Degnan, all of whom made our state better by being independent advocates for the people of New Jersey. I want to thank George Helmy and Matt Placken and the rest of your staff, Governor, for working with me and for their professionalism and encouragement. Tomorrow, I will move out of an office I have been in for 20 years, and on Monday, I look forward to starting work with the committed and smart staff of the Office of State Comptroller. I thank you, Governor Murphy, for this nomination, which I proudly and humbly accept.
Thanks, man. Awesome. Wow. I just hope Peter will still speak to me. I consider him a friend. Congratulations, Kevin. I think when we break, I'd love to get, we took it privately, but I'd love to get a team shot of the four horsemen and Mom to come up and join us. I think what we want to do in consideration of the family here, we'll take any on-topic questions, and then we'll take a very short break and do something off-topic after that. Anybody on, if there are any? Ryan.
Maybe we can hear from Kevin about what, he thinks could be done differently at the comptroller, or those things he'd like to focus on, if there's anything enterprising he can pursue, or whether he's just going to rely on the staff there and, the processes that are in place to come up with what's going to be looking at.
Sure, happy to address that. I recognize I have a lot of learning to do stepping into a new role, and I'm looking forward to beginning that process. So it's hard for me to say very much specifically, but I can say that I will learn from what has occurred. I will take the seasoned advice of the existing folks there, but I'm sure that I'm going to leave my own mark and develop my own sense over time of what needs to be done. I look forward to engaging the public in ways that are that highlight what needs to be done in the state. I look forward to hearing from folks through the Comptroller's Fraud Hotline. I look forward to hearing from folks who I've known a long time and folks I haven't met. And the role of the Comptroller is one that requires a lot of confidentiality, a lot of discretion. But to the extent I'm able, I intend to do the job in a way that engages New Jerseyans in what's important to them.
I just say one thing, if I could add to that. I met, if you don't understand the Mount Laurel implications, you don't understand New Jersey. You certainly don't understand housing in New Jersey, and I think much more broadly segregation and other scourges that we still deal with. And so I met Kevin and Peter way back when it was cold, dark, and lonely, well before I was a candidate, to understand their perspective on this. We then have met, obviously, more recently as it relates to this position, and we just had a private 90-second meeting before coming in here. And Kevin is my witness. I have not said in any of those conversations, nor will I ever say, focus on this, don't focus on that. This is entirely his, and in fact, we both refreshingly used the same phrase. I said to Kevin, without knowing it was going to be in his remarks, all we need you to do is call balls and strikes, and that's the extent of our marching orders. Please.
Yeah, Governor, there's been some mention of Matt Boxer, who was the first one to hold this job. He took on some of the most powerful, or looked into things that got into some turf that scrutinized some of the most powerful people in New Jersey. Is that something, Kevin, that you're ready to do? Are you at all going to be cautious about what you look at, or is politics now, out of
May I say one thing and then turn it over to you, if that's all right? I know he'll say this, but Kevin's his own man, so he's going to approach this with his own instincts and skills and backgrounds and perspectives. Matt is a great role model for this position, but there have been several. And I had the honor of having Phil in our cabinet. He was actually in Governor Christie's cabinet before, was in our cabinet. And this is as I said in my remarks, a young office in the scheme of things, but an office that's had some really stellar occupants, and I know Kevin will be not just his own man, but he'll be equally as stellar.
Yeah, in my view, the office and the role that I will play is one to serve New Jerseyans, and I've throughout my career pursued what I've thought was right. And at times that was unpopular, and I don't anticipate changing that approach. I will say I don't think it's about individuals, and I think that the job of the comptroller is one that may work in Trenton in ways that has political implications, but I see my job as being one of detaching from that and pursuing what is right, what is true, and the consequences will be what they may. But I don't like to view it in terms of engaging powerful folks. I like to view it in terms of doing the right thing. And if that comes with certain consequences or tensions, that's part of the job I'm ready for.
David, did you have something or no? You're good.
Yeah, it's kind of a follow-up to what John was asking. This is a position with broad authority. You can look into the darkest corners of state government. It's kind of a job that is really fit for an activist. Do you see yourself as an activist?
Who I will be as comptroller remains exactly to be seen. I don't know that I think this is a job for a watchdog. And that is a role that I've played, that I'm comfortable playing. I've certainly, for the past 20 years and before, worn the hat of activist. It's one I'm comfortable with, and I think it's an important one, and there's a lot of good folks in this room today. But as comptroller, I think the primary function is watchdog and sharing the truth, digging into the truth, demanding the truth, and that would be the primary role I look forward to playing.
I think, Ryan, we'll end with one more from you.
For you, Governor.
Yes.
I sat down with Matt Boxer in 2013 when he was ending his term, and one thing he mentioned to me was that he never, while he had a relationship with Governor Christie and Governor Corzine, he never spoke to them about any of their investigations before they were published. Is that something you have done since taking office and plan on continuing to do?
Yeah, it is. I had no visibility on Phil Degnan's analysis of the tax incentives until it was literally about to come out. When I say about to come out, I think maybe the same day. I think that's the way it should be, and that's the way it'll continue to be. It's the relationship we have with the Attorney General, I might add, as well. Kevin said that he will be a watchdog, and we're going to take a short break before I take any off-topic questions, but to anticipate one potential off-topic question, I'm honored as one of the 176 bills that I signed earlier this week that the Seeing Eye dog is now New Jersey's official dog. So, not a watchdog, but a Seeing Eye dog. Again, I want to say one more time how thrilled I am that Kevin has accepted our nomination. I know he looks forward to going through the advice and consent process in the Senate. He's showing up for work on Monday morning. And I thank, most importantly, him and his family, and to all the advocates, supporters, faith leaders, brothers in labor, folks who have been with him, advocates who have been with him, that guy right there from the get-go. This is a great day for the good guys. So thank you for being here. Let's take a quick picture with the family. Is that all right?
Great.
Actually, you and me?
Yeah.
Where we look? Let's do Edwin.
Hold on, Dean. Step back.
Then we'll get the team
guys.
Walsh. Look at these guys. Come on. This is as good as it gets.
Hair's still combed.
Ties are still straight here, right?
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of.
Close enough.
Could mom and sister and stepdad come up and join us? Is your brother here?
Brother.
John's back there, yeah.
John, there you are. Come on, man.
Little guy's got no time.
That's what I saw him and took mine off. That's not true, but it's a good excuse. I forgot to put mine on. Come on in, mom, a little bit.
Where's he
Here we go. Here we go.
First here, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you all again so much.